2000, the year where WWE was pounding WCW into the dirt. ECW was losing a lot of money because Paul Heyman didn't know what he was doing. Talent was leaving. The Monday Night Wars was about to go up in goddamn smoke, and WWE went to the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California, and presented this show. That wasn't so much the granddaddy of them all, it was more like granddaddy was on life support, and they were just trying to poke him with a stick. I don't want to go to school today. I'm John Renton with the retro view of WWE WrestleMania 2000, aka WrestleMania 16. It didn't have one single match on the goddamn card. I mean, yes, technically, but it wasn't a match. This was a messy show, a very messy show. And I decided, let's give it a shot. But yes, that California theme that they remixed to fit Teddy Long, the Mac Militant coming to get it up. If I try to do that goddamn dance, I'll just look ridiculous as opposed to how I look on camera normally. But yes, please let me know what you guys have to say. Do you think the show has aged well? I don't. I don't think the show was all that good to begin with in hindsight. And with the passage of time, Jesus, there were some moments where I'm like, wow, for the year 2000, WWE really just got lucky with how WCW basically shattered both their legs trying to cross the goddamn finish line. Because by the summer, well, actually by the fall of 98, they were lagging behind. Then the Finger Poke Doom and all that stuff, their pay-per-views in 99, WCW, they were sort of all right until like about spring. Spring Stampede 99 wasn't all that bad, but Mania 15 wasn't all that good. And Mania 16 was a step above, but that's not saying much. Of all the WrestleManias that happened for like the first 20, 25 years, this was certainly one of them. This is on the lower tier, in my personal opinion. And also, this is probably one of the worst pay-per-views they had in 2000, at least on, U.S. soil. I mean, I don't remember how Rebellion was, the two UK pay-per-views they would usually do. But yeah, it's nearly 20,000 fans at the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California. McMahon in every corner. Yeah, they really decided to just mess up this goddamn main event. It should have been so simple. It's not regarded as the best Mania ever, and it never will be. I mean, there are some people that will point to one particular match, and yes, there is one really, really good car crash match on this show. There are also several other car crashes that happen on this show. So, JR welcoming us, Lillian Garcia sings America the Beautiful, video package of the McMahon drama and main event and all that, and loud noises with the pyro. They cut Ice-T's rap entrance. Because pimpin' ain't easy, man. Apparently they didn't want to pay the rights, or they just didn't care for Ice-T, despite the fact they carried Law & Order SVU on Peacock. Bit weird. Then we have the Boss Man and Bull Buchanan taking on the Godfather and D'Lo Brown. I forgot that D'Lo Brown and Godfather were a tag team for a brief period. Ice-T was in the corner, and so were the Hoes. D'Lo should have been utilized better in WWE. I'm not saying he could have been more than a mid-card champion for longer than when he was a Euro-Continental champion for like a goddamn month. But come on. He could have been utilized better. Bull Buchanan was an agile freak athlete. He was really good. He did a springboard like up into like a clothesline off the top. Just great vertical leaping ability. This wasn't great. And also, it started off on a weird note with the heels winning. You would have thought that maybe the faces would have won. But we get the sidewalk slam, the hard time slam, as it used to be called. And Bull Buchanan hitting an incredibly high leg drop to a big pop. 1, 2, 3, and there you go. I believe this was Boss Man's last Mania match because he would be out of the company by, I think, mid-2000, or mid-2002, that is. And I think his last pay-per-view appearance in general was the Royal Rumble 2002. It's a real shame. I mean, he had some kind of motorcycle, he had some kind of automobile accident of some variety, and unfortunately wasn't in the best health even after his recovery, and unfortunately did pass away pretty young. He passed away sometime in 2004. So, rest in peace, Big Boss Man. Now we go to Triple H and Stephanie. Triple H, the current WWF champion, because it is, yes, WWF at the time. By the way, this shirt, my sister bought the shirt, painted this logo by looking at, and it's a very nice gift, and I love this. This is great stuff. Stephanie was also the women's champion. Remember when Stephanie won a championship she didn't deserve and got more TV time than she deserved? Because Stephanie was never worth a good goddamn as far as a character. Yeah, I'm standing by that. Stephanie may have been one of the most detrimental characters to the progression of the WWE product. Hardcore Battle Royal, 15-minute time limit. Whoever is the hardcore champion by the end of this, well, there you go. They're declared the champion. Crash Holly started as champion. We could trade the title a whole bunch, and whoever is holding it when the bell rings, there you go. And it's going to be Crash Holly, except it isn't because they botched the whole goddamn finish. It was Crash Holly, Hardcore Holly, Taz, Viscera, Thrasher, Funaki, Rodney, Pete Gas, Joey Abs. Yes, the Mean Street Posse were still employed for some reason. And then we got Bradshaw, Farouk, Mosh, and Taka. Taka and Funaki teaming up for They Are Evil, indeed. If you're a longtime fan, you will remember that. Okay, this is how they utilized Taz after his Mania, or after his Rumble debut. 2 months prior. 2.5 months prior. I know that Taz wasn't what he was in ECW, especially after his busted neck. He had a limited shelf life. He was retired from full-time competition by what? February, March of 2002. I think right after No Way Out 2002. He didn't even make it to Mania. And that's a shame because I would have liked Taz to get another Mania moment. So, certainly something better than this. That being said, this match is a perfect encapsulation of how A, getting everybody on the card isn't always the best idea, even though they get a payday. That is a good thing to get a payday. But 2, the hardcore division, this was it at its worst. Now, when Crash Holly was doing the stuff like going through the play land and going through the luggage claim and doing a whole bunch of stuff like that, that was pretty good. That was pretty good stuff. This featured numerous headshots, a whole bunch of weaponry. This was just eerie to watch. This is eerie to watch in hindsight. And there's nothing wrong with stuff to the head, especially if you get your hand up. But if you don't do that and you're just taking unprotected shots, I don't care what company you're in, that's stupid because the head trauma is goddamn ridiculous. So goddamn ridiculous. This is so bad. We got various weapons, like we got a phone being used. We got a fan. We got trash cans. Literally a box fan being used. A shopper's cart. Flags and a whole bunch of other bullshit. Crash was bleeding pretty bad. Pete Gas was really bleeding badly. So many stupid headshots. They battled to the back. Viscera was champion for a bit. And then they would trade the championship a little bit. They go backstage with a few minutes left. Numerous title changes. They get back to the ring. Taz would end up getting pinned by Crash Holly. We immediately get the Taz mission on Crash Holly. And Hardcore Holly was going to hit Crash Holly with something with broken glass. Walking on Crash Holly and broken glass. Okay, Annie Lennox is not going to sue me. She's just going to pity me. Like Annie Lennox has time to watch anything on YouTube. She's a busy woman. Counting her money from her music royalties and her terrific stuff that she's done over her career. But anyway, nevertheless, Crash Holly didn't kick out. He was supposed to kick out, but he didn't. I think he was knocked out. I also think Taz suffered a legit concussion during this because he was loopy. I think there were a lot of concussions from this that probably weren't diagnosed. And yeah, Hardcore Holly won because Crash forgot to kick out. Or didn't know he was supposed to kick out because he was knocked out. And this was a train wreck. It was supposed to be Crash Holly winning. He didn't. They had to switch the title the next night. Fan access with China, Jericho, and others meeting fans. Cool. All right, that's fine. And then we get Blackman and Al Snow doing bad comedy and somebody going to the toilet. Now, who was it? Well, they were a team called Head Cheese. So, yeah. There's a guy that comes out as a block of, or triangle cheese called Head Cheese. And it's really bad or cheesy. I don't really know what the hell he was supposed to be. The 2000s were a bit weird. Early 2000s were weird. Al Snow and Steve Blackman. This was Steve Blackman's last main card Mania match. Read up on Steve Blackman. He got malaria and dysentery. I think during a trip to South Africa or something. I forget exactly. It was somewhere over. It was somewhere out of this country and not in Mexico. And I think he ended up, having to get his body back together, like go through physical rehab and whatever. So it's a miracle he came back to wrestling at all. And yeah, this is what they rewarded him with. He had personality, but he didn't have the personality that Bruce Pritchard or Vince would like. And I think he was on the pre-show for Mania 17, if I recall correctly. Then suffered some kind of neck injury of some variety because he was out for a while, and then I think his contract was done by mid-2002 or late 2002. But nevertheless, TNA, Tess and Albert with Trish. Good God, Trish hasn't aged a goddamn bit. JR's headset goes out. This wasn't good. This was really sloppy. This is, as JR would say, bowling shoe ugly. Sky elbow 1, 2, 3. And then, basically, El Snow says, yeah, the cheese thing was a bad idea. So he picks him up like a child, puts him in the ring. They beat up the guy in the cheese outfit. I remember watching the TV at this time, and yeah, this, even with context, it was stupid. Cole's with the Dudleys. They didn't 3D him on the cement floor to prevent us from having to put up with Michael Cole for the last 23 years. I vote for them to be kicked out of the Hall of Fame. I kid, they won't be, but they should have. So, it's Edge and Christian versus the Hardys versus the Dudleys. Triangle ladder match for the WWE Tag Team Championship. The lone really good thing on this show. You can have your entertainment, you can have your stuff. This is a car crash, but this is a car crash that at least everybody went out there and with the agreement, we're just going to do whatever to our bodies to entertain the fans. I can't imagine why all these guys have problems walking. Can't imagine why Jeff has so many issues. Can't imagine why everybody maybe had to, leave for a while to rest injuries and come back after a number of years on the shelf. Probably due to matches like this. Maybe just a small, tiny, absolute bit. So, there was the Skyview camera, the Wile E. Coyote cam, there was the above camera and everything, and tables, chairs, and tables, ladders, and broken bodies along the way. And not even about the Benoit household, because we were still about 7 years and 3 months from that. Don't worry, I'll get to him. Jeff dives off a 20-foot ladder onto Bubba, and just mostly hits the floor. We get ladder shots and table shots. Everybody's just getting beat up. Matt gets put through a table before that. Everybody's just getting the shit beat out of them. And then there's this table set up on this ladder that doesn't look like it would actually be very sturdy. And what happens is Matt's up there and kind of trying to get this, but then he realizes, shit, this table might break. And then Edge says, whoop, and he bursts through a table. I mean, literally burst. That table looks like it just exploded. And Edge and Christian get the victory. They win the tag titles to a big pop. And again, I can't imagine why these guys have such difficulty walking right now. So, but good stuff. This is one of the lone matches to check out because it's worth it. It still holds up. Yeah, you can kind of cringe a little bit knowing the after effects of what would happen to everybody's bodies, and they would up it with the TLC match at SummerSlam 2000, the TLC 2 Electric Boogaloo match at WrestleMania 17, and TLC 3. I don't know why I emphasized C instead of 3. EC3. God, good thing he wasn't in a ladder. Oh, he was in a ladder match. Mr. CYN. They can't control his narrative or his nutrition if you've seen him recently. He doesn't have anything to do with Mania 2000. So let's get back to this. Kevin Kelly interviews Mick Foley, who had just retired 6 weeks prior, didn't want to come back, came back for a Mania payday because Vince wanted to give him a WrestleMania moment. And by Christ, it wasn't good. JR and Lawler continue to praise the ladder match, JR especially. And yes, it is still talked about to this day. It's one of the best, most memorable at least, Mania matches in history. There you go. I do also want to say a couple other retro reviews of Manias will be coming up sometime this month, probably in the next 2 weeks, because it's going to be very busy the week leading into Mania. So you're probably going to get Mania 25 and, oh hell, Mania 27. Why don't I just torture myself with Mania 27? That's slog. Speaking of slogs, Val Venus, who's a goddamn piece of shit and a goddamn stupid motherfucker and deserves every bit of mocking. Guy took so many shots to the head or was always a conspiracy nut and is a goddamn moron. If you agree with Val Venus on his conspiracy theories, fuck you. You don't belong on this channel. You can think for yourself, or you can think like an idiot like Val Venus. Anyway, he does his usual shtick. And then Terry Runnels with Moolah took on the Cat with Mae Young. Oh yeah, they did comedy with Mae Young and covering up the naughty bits of the Cat. You know, the Cat that didn't deserve to be on wrestling television because she wasn't any fucking good. Terry, poor Terry Runnels. Terry was willing to, well, actually I don't really know what her last name is now. Terry, I don't know I don't know why they treat her the way they did. She was always willing to do great things, but the fact that this was the lone singles match, and nothing, I'm glad these women got a payday. I'm glad they got to be out there to cool down the crowd, basically. Even though the crowd was up for it, because it was two blondes, two tan blondes with the see-through stuff, and oh my god, they're tangling with each other. It's so hot. That's basically what the fans were saying. But and don't get me wrong, I got nothing against Terry. I got playing against a CAC. She was a weirdo. But Terry at least, got the Mania victory. I guess the way you win is the first person outside the ring thrown outside the ring loses? Evidently? Mae Young kisses Val Venus for about 5 minutes of this 2.5 minute match. Don't ask me how that works. And Terry ends up winning because the cat's outside the ring. And then Terry gets stripped. And then Mae hits a Bronco Buster. Before that on Moolah. By the way, fuck the fabulous Moolah. I'm glad she's dead. She deserves to have her legacy tarnished for what she did. Yay! That was a cool down match. Boy, women's wrestling has come a long way since then. Hell, even Chyna versus Ivory at Mania 17 was better than that. That's nothing against Terry. It wasn't a match. They didn't take the women seriously then. The Radicals, Eddie, Dean Malenko, and Saturn are talking about Chyna. Oh, did you see the way she was looking at me? Eddie said, Saturn says, hey, Eddie, you're not the only good-looking guy in this group. Saturn doing all right. I heard Saturn was doing pretty bad in the last number of years, so hopefully he's doing better. And then the Radicals, so the aforementioned Eddie, Malenko, and Saturn took on Too Cool and Chyna. Chyna wanted to get at Eddie because Eddie had been saying, oh, she can't resist my Latino heat, but kind of been, being snide towards her and stuff like that, and she wanted to get at him. This was almost 10 minutes. I mean, there were parts of it that were rushed. Crowd pop for the double worm. And then Chyna finally got tagged in, finally got her hands on Eddie. They did some good stuff. It was fine for what it is. The guys were good enough to put Chyna in places so things could work. Unfortunately, Chyna's pants started to have an issue. I don't know if they were supposed to be rip-away pants or what. But nevertheless, gear malfunction. But she still managed to make it work. Got a sleeper clutch. And dropped Eddie down, got the victory, 1, 2, 3. And then would immediately join Eddie the next night when he beat Chris Jericho for the European Championship. Because she couldn't resist his Latino heat. Let's be honest. The Eddie Chyna stuff might have actually been the best shit that Chyna did post-DX. That's not knocking Chyna. The Rumble victory, or not Rumble victory, but eliminating Vince from that corporate Rumble and Vince taking that bump where it looks like he almost decapitated himself. God, it would have been a shame if he actually did, nevertheless. But Chyna doing that and then eliminating Mark Henry in the 99 Rumble, being in the King of the Ring 99 match, winning the Intercontinental Championship a couple times. That may have been the most memorable thing she did, the stuff with Eddie, because it was good. It was stupid, but it was good. Anyway, so basically, Shane talks about Big Show, says, oh, our era begins tonight. Yeah, about that. Speaking of eras that are beginning, well, the era of Canadian Chris's was beginning, or at least being enhanced, as a two-fall triple threat match took place with Kurt Angle defending his Intercontinental and European Championships thanks to Bob Backlund, who was his manager briefly, saying, hey, this Tough Love, you need to defend those titles. And then Bob Backlund got laid out. Bob Backlund had a very strange run in WWE from like late 92, early 93 to 2000. Off on. Anyway, Angle laid him out with a crossface chicken wing, Backlund's move. And so he has to defend those titles. Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho, a.k.a. the Murderer and the Insurrection Supporter. Future Murderer and Future Insurrection Supporter. First falls for the Intercontinental Championship, second falls for the European Championship. Look, this is a good match. This is well wrestled because it has these three involved at the peak of their powers. When a couple of them would only get a little bit better, to be perfectly honest. Actually, all three would get better for a couple of years. And then they would just be in their prime for a while. So, but it's still a Benoit match. I can't watch Benoit match objectively. I just fucking can't. The diving headbutt, all the other stuff and everything, the commentary, the eerie commentary about the crippler. Basically, this is noteworthy also for Angle being a double champion and losing both titles despite the fact that he didn't get pinned. Benoit pinned Jericho after the diving headbutt. Can't imagine why he had brain trauma and decided to take the innocent lives of his wife and child and then end his own life. When he was debating on going to that pay-per-view, which would have killed the goddamn company, literally killing the company. Hey, we didn't know that this guy murdered his family and then came here and seemed all unhinged and confused. Thank God they didn't do that. God rest in peace, Nancy and Daniel. Anyway, then we get a ref bump and we get a misdiving headbutt and a lion salt 1, 2, 3. So Benoit wins the Intercontinental Championship in the first round, or the first fall. And then in the second fall, Jericho wins the European Championship. And then we get Cole interviewing Vince. He's not a good face here. The Run DMC DX theme was odd. One of them isn't running anymore, but I digress. Kane and Rikishi with Paul Bearer. I forgot that Paul Bearer was actually still in the company in 2000. Because he needed to go get his get his weight issues addressed, which actually is why he was written off during the Concrete Crypt match. And then came back later. And joined Kane and turned on Undertaker when they had their feud in 2010. Rest in peace, Paul Bearer. You crazy son of a bitch. Anyway, DX members X-Pac and Road Dogg with Tori. Tori slapped Paul Bearer. He got pissed. This match was short. This was 4 minutes, maybe. Tori got hit with the stink face later in the match, and then a tombstone to X-Pac 1, 2, 3. X-Pac and Kane actually had a pretty decent feud. I guess this was the blow-off. And then San Diego Chicken showed up with Too Cool. And the whole thing is that Pete Rose got laid out with the tombstone in Mania 14 and Mania 15. And then the thought was, oh, Pete Rose is a San Diego Chicken, but he's not. He's not the San Diego Chicken, despite the fact they're in Anaheim. I don't even know if that was a San Diego Chicken. Nevertheless, it was a guy in a chicken suit. Kurt Angle like, hey, that's my chicken suit. Anyway, so nevertheless, what ends up happening is Pete Rose isn't in that. He shows up and tries to hit him with a bat, but that doesn't work. Then he gets chokeslammed and gets a stink face. And then Pete Rose took his payoff and gambled it, because Pete Rose loved to gamble. In and out of baseball. So anyway, the Rock promo, he will win for the millions and millions. Entrances for the various participants took about 6 to 7 minutes. And it was Triple H with Stephanie in his corner, Rock with Vince in his corner, Foley with Linda in her corner, his corner, her corner. Why did I say it like that? Linda was keeping an eye on Stephanie in her corner while looking straight ahead at the ring, too. And then also Big Show with Shane. 4-way elimination match for the WWF Championship. And I'll tell you what this wasn't. It wasn't a very good main event at WrestleMania. This really wasn't very good. It got better when it got down to Rock and Triple H. But this really should have just been Rock and Triple H like Backlash was. But oh, sorry. I just was thinking about how agonizing some of this match was. Big Show got taken out within the first 5 minutes. This is a 38-minute long match. And yeah, Show got hit with a chair and then got hit with a rock bottom 1, 2, 3. And then so Shane leaves. And then it's down to then Foley and Rock team up for a bit, and then a double low blow from Triple H, and then Foley tried to do the elbow drop through the announcer's table. Didn't quite make it. That's a shame. His knees were shot, and his heart wasn't in it. I don't blame him for taking the money, but this, no. That was bad. He then got hit with a chair shot, got hit with a pedigree. Ooh, on the chair. That was bad because Triple H Foley didn't get up, and Triple H kind of let him go, and Foley just plopped right there. So, yeah, that wasn't very good. Down to Rock and Triple H, and then it got messy. Good God, it got messy. Foley hit Triple H with the barbed wire board, and either they added the blood off, and I don't think they did, because there was no blood. How did he get him with no blood? Did he get his hands up? Did he just say, oh, the barbed wire didn't cut me? You gotta cut me, Mick, cut me. Aha! Didn't even realize I did that when his name's Foley. So, nevertheless, Rock and Triple H battled to the entranceway, into the crowd, backdrop to the floor. Triple H always loved to take that bump. And then Vince posts Triple H, and then Shane suddenly attacks Vince, and then monitors the situation by hitting him in the head. And then we get more of a melee. Triple H and Rock are still battling. Vince gets taken away very briefly, and then comes back, and then hits Rock with a chair. Because Vince McMahon's evil. After battling Triple H at Armageddon 99 and leaving for a bit, when Stephanie proved to be on Triple H's side, not his side. And then he helped him, too many pronouns, pal. He helped Triple H win here mere months later. And then a second chair shot. 1, 2, 3. So Triple H wins. So Triple H being the champion and closing the show might have not been the worst goddamn thing in the world, but it left a bad taste in everybody's mouth, and so did this match. Triple H, by the way, gets laid out. Rock lays out Shane with a rock bottom, lays out Vince with a rock bottom, and then lays out Stephanie with a rock bottom. Stephanie going out on her back. That's fitting. And then hits people's elbow after knocking Triple H down. And then they would do a much, 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 much better match at Backlash 2000 that I retro-viewed at some point. You can check that out by searching on the channel. So yeah, there you go. That's all for WrestleMania 2000. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.